Hello and welcome to Question Entertainment. I'm Christopher Willett, and today I'm looking at the movie Hanna. Now, Hanna is the newest movie by Joe Wright, who did, in my opinion, one of the best movies ever, Pride and Prejudice, the one with Keira Knightley. And you can go to my blog and read that review. We won't get into all the reasons why that movie is fantastic, but it is. He also did the movie Atonement, which was another period piece. It was a really, really well done movie. I was a little leery on what message he was getting at there. I only watched it once and I didn't pay enough attention to really say yay or nay, but it was a beautiful looking movie. So when I saw that he was doing a modern action film with this little girl killing machine and a soundtrack by the Chemical Brothers, I was pretty excited. And we got a babysitter. So we went. Hanna is this girl who lives with her dad in the middle of the Arctic, I believe. There was a lot of snow and ice and moose and stuff. And her dad has trained her to be just this super fortified assassin. And for some reason, there's a button. And when they push it, the government will come for him. And the plan is, he won't be there, they'll get her, and there is one top agent, played by Cate Blanchett, who the dad has said, Hanna, it's either going to be you or her. One of you is going to die. She presses the button, we end up back in America. Actually, no, we end up all over the world, and lots of people die. So how was it? The movie was incredible. It was just butt-kicking action, it was well acted, it was well thought out, you never had your intelligence insulted. In fact, you were thinking the whole time through the adrenaline cuts and all of this, but it was also beautifully shot. Like, one of the things I always point out about Pride and Prejudice is that the scene with Elizabeth's mother running down one side of the frame and the geese squawking running down the other, it just explains the character visually so well. It was amazing. That sort of detail and that sort of visual creativity was not lost in Hanna. So you get all the thrill and action of just a summer blockbuster with violence and guns and incredible techno music. And you get this fantastic visual genius. The movie was great. Was it good for kids? It centers around a young teenager, but that is not the audience for this film. It is very violent, though never exploitively so, in that you don't watch people ripped apart and die. Like, the violence is quick and to the point, and we don't have a lot of gore. Still, it's very violent, and the plot line is a massive group of government agents as well as some hired thugs trying to kill a 14-year-old girl who is really holding her own. It's hardcore. There's not really a whole lot of language. The only other thing to look out for and decide about your kids watching it is the messages. So, what about spiritual issues? This movie was well done. There's not a lot of dialogue, but they did communicate things. First of all, there were two scenes that I really liked and would have no problem with if there wasn't dialogue that came before that I almost thought was throwaway dialogue, but this guy does not do throwaway dialogue. Everything is important. Other dialogue that actually changed or adapted the meaning of the scenes. One of them, Hanna had gone on a double date because she's learning to adapt and learning to grow in her environment. The boy tried to kiss her. When he leaned in, she grabbed him by the head and the chin and spun him on the ground and held him there. She wasn't having any part of it. Later on, she's talking to the girl her own age. They're camping out, they're in a tent, they're talking about friendship and stuff, and Hanna kisses the other girl. It's very much shown as innocent friendship. It was just, she wasn't going to kiss as entertainment. She was kissing to show actual affection. The only problem with this is, earlier, the little girl in question had told Hanna that she wouldn't mind growing up to be a lesbian, and makes some joke about how she doesn't want to be one of the fat butch lesbians, she wants to be a supermodel lesbian. And like I said, it just seemed like a throwaway line, but it couples with this other scene and makes the statement that homosexuality isn't anything but just the natural progression. It comes out of the innocent curiosity or innocent love of children, which is not a biblical worldview. The second one, which I think is much more important, is the symbolism that they put in there linking her to Jesus. Now, as you know from my discussion of the different Jesuses in literature, that doesn't make it good or bad, just that they linked her to Jesus. And they did it in a beautiful way, because everything in this movie was amazing. There was a symbolism with a deer. She had killed the deer at the beginning, and symbolically it showed her death. And then at the end, when she went into the mouth of this giant wolf, it was actually, they were in an abandoned amusement park, and the train came out of a tunnel that had a wolf's head. She was standing on the track, the train's no longer there. She had just fought Cate Blanchett and had gone into the tunnel, and there was a live deer, and it was a young deer. Like, it had this thought of rebirth, and she also then escaped out of it after fighting Cate Blanchett some more, and it has this resurrection feel. It was very well done. The issue with it is twofold. First off, she had had a conversation in a van with a random mother. Well, not random, she was very important to the plot, but she'd had a conversation where the mom said driving through such beautiful country makes her feel connected with God. And then with specific, she didn't mean a monolithic one God like the Bible, she meant it could be Buddha or whoever. And then asked Hanna what she believed and deduced that Hanna didn't believe anything, and that was okay. Once again, it was almost would have been throwaway, but we also pair that with Hannah's mother is dead, and the only thing she has left of her mother is a book of Grimm's fairy tales, which they talk about Hansel and Gretel and Little Red Riding Hood in the book, and there's photos of her mom as a bookmark in with Little Red Riding Hood. Well, as I mentioned, the tunnel she goes into, there is Hansel and Gretel symbolism there as well, and she had gone to her grandmother's house, but her grandmother had already been killed by Cate Blanchett's character, and when she faces Cate Blanchett, she comes out of the wolf's mouth. Cate Blanchett is the wolf in Little Red Riding Hood, which the fights ensue and the tunnel becomes the tomb of Christ. Well, what we've already found out is that this whole scene is linking us to fairy tales. And the three fairy tales we have working, according to this film, are Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood, and the Gospel of Jesus. So, where even Tolkien actually compares the Gospel to fairy tales, but what he says is fairy tales touch us in a very deep way because they connect us with this longing for something magical and beyond our world. The Gospel is where all that magic and beauty actually stepped into reality. What Hanna is saying, the movie, is that the fairy tales do connect with us in a real way because there is something true about them, but they are still fairy tales. He has put the Gospel on the level of the fictional, though he is still willing to use the symbolism, just like he's willing to use the symbolism of the big bad wolf, of Hansel and Gretel. Unfortunately, the sad part of Hanna is the ultimate message we're getting here is that if you can learn to adapt, her father at the beginning lets her know that whatever situation she's in, she needs to adapt or die. So if you can learn to adapt, if you can learn to make friends, then you can be okay in life. You will make it. The ending actually just ends after the final confrontation. We don't get a resolution. We don't get a even falling action. We just know Hanna has completed the task. She killed the agent, and she's learned to make friends and learned to adapt, so we know she's going to be okay. There is Christ symbolism. In fact, her own father gives her life. Her father gives his life for her, even bringing in this God and holy child kind of idea. But despite the fact the symbolism is there, we are told that it's only symbolism from what they are considering a fictional story. So what is my recommendation? Hanna is an incredible movie with some very unfortunately negative, unbiblical ideas in it. If you're going to go watch Hanna, make sure you're going with an open mind and an understanding. If you're going to bring kids to see Hanna, I would discuss the issues of the father preparing the daughter, which that was actually really good. The father cared about his daughter. He brought her up. He gave her the tools she needed to survive, even though it was hard, even though she sometimes had a hard time with it. And he gave his life for her. It was a great father-daughter role in this hyper-extended world where everybody wanted to kill her. But beyond that, the symbolism with the kids kissing and with especially Jesus being on the level of fictionality as Little Red Riding Hood, that would need to be addressed. Thank you for watching. Please check out our Facebook page and please check out our blog.